What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 72 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the lore to my data, Lester Jones.
I know. Was he in like one episode?
I think he had a couple different ones, but yeah, Data's got an evil, like, twin brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I had heard of Data, but I didn't know who the other guy was.
And of course, we got the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder, doing the deed and spreading that seed. The rootin' tootin', skeet shootin', filling up pies with the might of 50 guys. I ain't telling no lies. The phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Guys, any good stories from the week? What have you been playing? What have you been watching?
Well, I've been playing Mario Kart 64. That game is a classic.
Up to date.
Yeah, it's a classic. I love it. It's my favorite game of all time.
Of all time, really?
Yeah, it's up there with God of War. God of War is fun because of the storyline. This is fun because of just the gameplay, the action, like it's so quirky, and it almost seems like, to me, like games are almost too realistic now. This game is just in that like middle zone where it's like it's cartoonish and fun, but it's still like, it doesn't look too silly to where it's like not fun.
Oh, I see. So you kind of like the kind of more stylized, cartoony.
Yeah.
Rather than like the super duper realistic.
What's your best of all time over there?
That's really tough for me. Like,
Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah. Wet dreams don't dry. I don't know. Like, if I went console by console, I could tell you maybe like my favorite games of each console I've ever had. But like, I don't know if I really have like just a top like favorite game of all time. Do you?
I'll still play some Tetris. I found that out.
I mean, if we go NES, I'm going to go with Micro Machines.
That was a really good game.
If we move up to Sega Genesis, probably Earthworm Jim.
Earthworm Jim's one of the only ones I played on. It was hard as shit too.
Man, I'm one of those people. I never had, like, NES was the only Nintendo console I ever had, so I know there's like, I never had Super Nintendo, N64, Wii.
Yeah, because some people really have a lot of love for those, but yeah.
So then PlayStation, I would probably go with Crash Team Racing.
Ooh, Medal of Honor.
You did love
fucking Nazis.
PS2, man, PS2 had a lot of great freaking games. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time would be up there. But man, I also like the original God of War. I like Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about replaying that.
Those GTA games that were on there were really good. Man.
There's one other game by that creator that I was looking at. The Last Guardian, I think, maybe something like that.
See, that game, like when it was first announced, I was like, oh yeah, another game from those guys, because I like Shadow of the Colossus so much. But then that game went to like development hell, and it was delayed like forever to the point where people thought the game was canceled. And then like it came out, and like I think it kind of got like pretty mediocre reviews. So I never ended up playing it. PS3, I would say my favorite game on there is the original Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
So
I played a little bit, but like it just felt like it was going to be like a trillion hours. I don't know. I don't think I got very far.
I bought the second one. The first one I liked a lot, but I didn't really finish it. I just enjoyed the gameplay for as long as I could. The second one, I couldn't really get into it, man.
See, I don't like the second one nearly as much.
I don't even remember if I played the first one or the second one.
See, for me, like the second one is impressive in many ways. Like it's a huge world, like very detailed, like very gorgeous game. But it gets tedious. Like, oh, your gun's breaking. You got to keep them oiled. Oh, you're at the campsite. You better do chores to get your, keep your camp going. And
yeah, I heard about that.
It continuously asks you to do things you don't want to do. And like even the hunting isn't very fun because it's like, oh, you can kill the animal, but unless you go through all these really annoying steps, like the skin's not going to be as good, and it's going to be damaged or whatever. And it's just
I heard that other players like steal your shit too. Like they attack you and take your hides or something.
Well, I never played the online portion. That's probably true. I just played the single player. And you probably can get robbed. I don't remember, but
It's a much easier way to get hides. Be like, oh, this guy fucked up his steps. This is this guy's shit.
but yeah, it's just like it is an impressive game, and like I would still recommend playing it. But like I think the first Red Dead Redemption is probably like close to a 10, and Red Dead 2 is like a 7.5, just because of all the unfun stuff it makes you do, and even like eventually they you don't have fast travel right away. Eventually you get it, but it's still like only one way fast travel from your camp. So even if you fast travel, and with that game the loading times are ridiculous, you finally get there and then like that's it. So if you went back to your camp, you'd have to go the long way. It's like,
Oh man.
and it's like a huge map. So like I don't know. It's it sounds like I'm really shitting on it. Like it is impressive, like I said, in a lot of ways. It's so much less fun than the first game.
I mean, I think some of that tediousness is part of what people enjoy too. Maybe at first more, but like there's games that are like lawnmower simulators, like where you just
Yeah. That's like Farming Simulator 26, shit like that. And you're like, who's buying this?
Yeah, those games do. One thing with Red Dead, like they do like add like certain things to make it so like the trips in between places like aren't as boring. So like sometimes you'll come across other characters but like even those started to get repetitive. Like there was 3 different women whose like horse died by the side of the road, and they're like, oh, can you take me to the nearest town? Which a lot of times would be like not in the direction I wanted to go. So I'm like, fine, yeah. And like they tell you this big long story as you're taking them. I'm like,
by the time you get there, you're like, I wish this bitch would shut up.
sometimes yes. And like if it just happened like once, you'd be like, okay, that was a clever thing to put in there. But by the third lady whose horse died by the side of the road, you're like, this again.
Ass cash or grass lady.
You just drive by, eat shit. PS4, my favorite game would probably be Horizon Zero Dawn, and the second one of those is about to come out this next year.
Well, now that you got your PS5, I'm breaking into the PS4 territory with this.
Yeah, but you just play Far Cry and nothing else.
Well, that's all I've played so far. I got Far Cry 6, and
yeah, but that's a huge like open world. That's probably like a 90-hour game or something.
And it's been kicking my ass. Like I really love the third one, and this one is like you can't be stealthy. Like it's always like a fight. Like somebody sees you, and you're in this big fucking swarm of people. It's been kicking my ass pretty good.
Yeah, and then. Like you mentioned, I finally got the PS5, so over the weekend I started playing that Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I do enjoy, but like, well, first of all, it's one of those like, PS4, PS5 cross-gen games, so like, it's already not like, taken, it takes a couple years before games start to look impressive, even when you get into a console, so like, like,
well, there's 1 year down.
What's that?
It's been out for 1 year.
That's true. So like the facial animations aren't great, like you see in a lot of games. Like they don't match up all the time, and I ran into this bug where like I was telling him like a lot of games like you'll come up and there'll be something you can pick up and read. Mm-hmm. Well, this one thing I read, and then like. Now, anytime I go pick up anything else, like there's a bug where that last thing I read just keeps coming up over top of like the new thing I pick up. So like sometimes you can't see.
Hopefully, there's not like vital intel.
I know. So it's definitely not a perfect game. I will like so far. The story I think is the strongest part of it. Just and those characters, like it's that part of it's fun, and like there's definitely like some interesting play. Like I like the look of some of the places it sends you.
Do they try to make the characters look like the ones in the movie, or do they look like kind of different?
They look different. They act very similar personality-wise.
Okay.
So you'll definitely like recognize them in that way. But like the I mean, they don't look totally unrecognizable from the movie versions. And like as you play the game, like you can find like different skins for them, and some of the skins include like their clothes from the first Guardians movie. So like if you use those, you can make them look even closer to that, I guess. But they have like different visuals. I would say Star-Lord looks the most different from like the movie version. But the gameplay, I think is fine. Like basically you're Star-Lord, but you get in these group fights and you basically kind of command the other Guardians to do their moves while at the same time like you do your moves. So it's kind of like a balancing act where you're like using their powers to the best to defeat like certain types of enemies and stuff like that. So it's fine gameplay wise. But yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it. I think I'm like 7 chapters in. I have no idea how long it is though. What about watching? What have you guys been watching this week?
I finished the first season of Southside, and now I'm in like season 2, episode 3 or 4, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just a silly show.
It's Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago. It's those repo guys who work for like a rent-a-center type place.
Yeah.
And then there's also like 2 other characters who are cops. And one of the cops is like he's a black guy himself. I think like a lot of the characters are black in this show, like 99% I would say. But this cop, he got in trouble because he used to live, and he lives in the Gold Coast, or not the Gold Coast, but the north side of Chicago, and that's supposed to be like the nice area, like people are different up there, and he's like. He gets in trouble because he sees a guy he can't tell if he's white or black go into a nice house, and he's like, this area, what? He grabs the guy, he arrests him, he gets YouTubed, he gets famous, he's on the news, and he's like, I guess I'm not going to be a detective. And they're like, detective? You're going to the South Side Chicago. So they send him to South Side, and he's like all sad and everything, and he's just like the biggest square, plays by the rules, like, but he's just so funny. He's a hilarious character, man. Like, bad shit always happens to him. I don't know, that guy.
What's that on?
HBO Max.
Oh, maybe next time we get HBO, I'll take a watch. We'll watch a couple, see if I like it.
Yeah. Give it a shot. It's a fun show.
Kind of offhand, I've heard a couple of people saying good things about Yellowstone, but I don't really know too much about it.
I've heard that too. I think it's supposed to be kind of like a modern day Western or something.
Huh.
Has Kevin Costner in it. That's about all I know.
I heard about Kevin Costner doing a show, yeah.
I think it's like one of the most watched shows right now, but that doesn't always mean anything. In fact, sometimes that's a detriment.
Yeah, you should probably tell Dad. He might be in that. Do you know what service that's on?
That's on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus? Coming up with shit I haven't even heard of.
Well, Mom and Dad, I don't know if they're still subscribed to it, but like I have access to their Amazon Prime account, and sometimes they have. She subscribes to that, I think, for like NCIS or something. So like sometimes,
might be on there.
So yeah, you might have the ability to watch that. Man, last week I was talking about the Cowboy Bebop live action show, and that like a lot of people were complaining about it, but I thought it was fine. But apparently the other crowd won out because I saw today that it was canceled after one season, so not returning.
I mean, Netflix has a habit of doing that anyway. They do the first season of a show, they get people interested, and then they cancel and get like a new show to do the same thing over again.
Well, that's the thing about streaming that I've heard is like, with like shows on cable, like basically as long as they do a certain rating, like they can last as long as they want to, which is why you have shows like NCIS and like Supernatural and shows like that can go like 15 to 20 seasons or however long they want to go, But with streaming, like what I heard is like even if a show is really good and gets a lot of buzz, like by the time that show is 3 or 4 seasons in, like it's not going to attract new stream like people. It's already got its audience, so that's why they'll sometimes cancel shows.
My thing with some of the streaming shows is like they might put out a new season of a show I like, and it's like, oh, we got 6 seasons. And I'm like, did I see 5 seasons or did I see 6 seasons? I'm like, and then I think I like don't catch it all the time.
You can usually figure that shit out though.
Well, if you're watching like, because they have that sections like, oh, new episodes or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Netflix usually will, like, if you're on your own account, will leave off where you did.
Well, that's another thing, because I've bounced through different accounts, and sometimes I just forget.
Oh, yeah, you got to stick to your own.
And then I, like, got to go look at the episodes and try to figure out, did I watch?
Yeah, does this sound familiar?
And, the descriptions, it's like, some of them are pretty good, some of them are like, oh, Jumpin' Jack Flash, May Have a Little Lamb. You're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. I don't remember any of this.
I do appreciate, like, those shows that, like, do the last season on blah, 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 and they, like, actually, like, trigger your memory a little bit, and you're like, oh, yeah, I vaguely remember this. One show I did finish on Netflix that I would totally recommend to people is Arcane, which is, like, an animated series. And, like, it's almost hard to explain what it's about. I guess it's, like, loosely based on League of Legends, which is, like, an MMO video game. And this is, like, a prequel to that world or something. But, you know, I mean, I've never played that game. I don't know nothing about it. So you definitely don't need to have any knowledge of the game. But basically, there's kind of, like, this steampunk type world where, like, and there's, like, basically like a class divide. So like there's this place they call Topside, which has all the kind of more well-to-do people, and then the Undercity, which, you know, all the poor people live. And like it centers around these two sisters who like and they don't go into detail, but basically there's some sort of clash between the Undercity and the Topside, and their parents died, so they were orphaned. And like I don't want to give too much away, but eventually there's like a time jump, and some interesting things happen. But I think it's actually like a surprisingly like tightly written show, and it's definitely like made for adults. So yeah, I would definitely, if anyone who hasn't checked out Arcane, I would highly recommend it. I ended up liking it quite a bit, and actually the animation style, like some of it looks pretty stunning. It's pretty cool. All right. Anything else, guys, before we get into the show?
Nope.
Fair enough. All right. Well, anyone who hasn't watched, we're just going to go around the table, see if we can find some amusing or interesting stories, and we'll talk about them. And as tradition dictates, AJ, we usually start with you. So what do you got for us this week?
All right. A bomb squad was reportedly called to a hospital in England after a man arrived with a mortar shell stuck in his rectum.
Mortar shell.
Members of the 11 Explosive Ordnance Disposal Regiment responded to a call from Gloucestershire Royal Hospital on Thursday after the patient was admitted, reports Gloucestershire Live. The Sun reports medics were fearful the mortar could possibly still be live and therefore could still explode. The 57mm mortar round was used by the Royal Artillery in the Second World War as anti-tank rounds, though it would later be used by British tanks in North Africa. The length of the mortar, 170 millimeters, is equivalent to 6.69 inches. Wow, 6.69. The width
Nice.
The width of 57 millimeters is close to 2.24 inches. According to a source, and that's girthy. According to a source, the man was a collector of military memorabilia and somehow slipped and fell onto the round.
That's a Seinfeld. A 1 in a million shot.
And my asshole was dilated to fucking.
I mean, this doesn't sound too big. Like it's like this big or something. Like it's penis size.
I know, but
when you said mortar, I was thinking like fucking like one of those gigantic fucking mortar shells.
That's what I was envisioning.
I was like, man, this guy was like, he was going for the gold star and like, yeah.
The mortar was later discovered to be inert and not potentially harmful to anyone. It was not currently inside. The man was reportedly released from the hospital and expected to make a full recovery. All right, so yeah, that's the story. So this guy slipped and fell onto a mortar. Are we buying that story?
I'm sure that story's on the up and up.
I mean, that just reminds me of those. You ever see those Ramadan videos, like where people pretend to slip and fall, and like then food falls into their mouth, and they start chewing it, and it goes like they're like, "Oh, I had a whole meal." But it just accidentally fell down in my mouth.
No, I never heard of this.
I didn't know this was a thing. Is this a TikTok thing?
Yeah, it's a TikTok thing. Yeah.
Okay, that would explain.
It's a silly little thing that people like. Yeah, they're not allowed to eat from like I guess sun up to sundown. So like I fell. Some strawberries fell into my mouth, stuff like that. But yeah, this guy slipped and fell onto a mortar. Okay, so that's a double-edged sword, right? Because,
call the bomb squad into his asshole.
Because, like, if he must have accidentally done it. Cause
whether it was alive or not, maybe we should just drag him out in the desert and then explode him just to be safe.
You got one of those, like, robots.
Right.
Or, no, you got the guy in, like, the thick suit.
The robot's, like right up in his anus.
You're operating the little tweezers on the robot.
In, out, in, out.
Oh, no. The guy's, like, getting off to it. Terrible.
I mean, if you have something like that in your ass, why even try the slip and fall story? Like, just be like, you know what happened.
Just go die of shame somewhere.
But I mean, such a dangerous thing. Like, was it a thrill? I wonder. Like, is that a fetish? Is that a new thing that we don't?
Yeah, I half wonder if like he was doing this in front of somebody as like a party trick. Hey guys.
Maybe he's like, I've shoved so much stuff up my ass that it's not exciting unless there's an element of danger.
Yeah, I can see that. All right.
But good God, like, how much stuff do you think he tried before like breaking down and actually going to the hospital? Because wouldn't you be like embarrassed? Like,
yeah, it seems like you'd.
I'd be like, I'll try eating a bunch of stuff and see if I can shit it out.
Yeah, maybe just have some fiber and wait for a couple hours.
I would drink olive oil and see if that like lube get out.
Yeah.
You're just shitting around this thing.
Yeah.
It's not working.
You like take a turkey baster full of olive oil and you try to squirt it around. Also, like, wouldn't you think he would have well lubricated beforehand as well?
I mean, I can't presume what this guy was thinking.
You seem sound of mind.
Now, if you fall on it, you don't lubricate. That fills out the story.
Right. Oh, all right.
If you go in with a lubed up butthole and a thing up your ass and be like, I fell on it.
Yeah,
no one's going to believe it. I put it on afterwards.
You wouldn't believe the sequence of events.
I just normally lube my ass like I always do. And
I like to keep it limber just in case. Oh, man. That was a good story, I got to say. Should we go to Manifesto round one?
Sure. Colombia's armed forces seized cocaine worth over $300 million.
Oh, this doesn't involve any anus.
Yeah. When asked for comment, the CIA said, God damn it, not again. That's it.
Man, we should make... I think you got to do another one.
I've got all these stories like, inflation sucks. The lira collapsed.
All right. Do you want to move on then?
Yeah. I can't bust out jumps like that one after another.
Well, this story's a couple years old, but when I saw this headline, I just had to do it. Woman views porn movie and soon realizes that it's her dad and mom. One luckless woman.
Then she checked the date, and it was her conception.
Yeah.
One luckless woman divulged she once put on an old porn film, only to understand only to understand the stars of the Mealy movie were none other than her mommy and daddy. The unnamed woman, then merely 15 years old, stated she had swept off school on that momentous day and had crept into her folks' room to ruffle through their video collection.
Oh,
Searching
that's a
for-
horrible mistake.
Searching for some porn. After 2 unsuccessful tries, the teen snatched up a third videotape, and it's harmless to say that she received more than she brokered for. She explained the third started out on a couch. It looked a lot like our couch, which was weird. Right then, you would think that'd be a warning sign.
Stop me, Jack.
It was shot on a tripod and was quite far away, but I could make out a naked woman on the couch. Then a man who was clearly fiddling with the camera controls walked away from the camera, naked bum in all its glory, towards the woman. Then the dude jumped on the woman and they started having stiff missionary sex. The moment the woman realized she was getting off to her parents, it was the least sensual porn I had seen.
Oh, no.
And although I didn't have much to compare it with, I was pretty sure it was amateur.
Man, she roasted her parents with sex.
The woman then discloses that she felt obliged to at least attempt to masturbate.
What?
Alas, it wasn't until the nude man strolled towards the camera with his pecker swinging that she noticed what she'd just done. She stated, "He looked familiar, really familiar. He looks like my dad." How weird is that? Oh my God, that is our couch. Oh my God, it is my dad. Oh my God, that's my mom.
Ouch.
I have never run so fast to the VHS player to hit stop, but it took forever. My legs were jelly. The VHS player was so far away.
Such a rocking orgasm.
Oh, no.
I was screaming no, but it came out all low pitched and slow. I managed to get to the stop button, but the damage was done. My life was over.
She finished?
No, she didn't finish masturbating.
She was trying.
As soon as she noticed it was her dad, she stopped.
They finished before she did.
Oh, man.
But I mean, how do you start it out and go, "Yeah, that looks like our couch," but that's not going to be a warning sign. That's just, it's a similar looking couch.
In retrospect, that should have been my first clue.
Oh, good God. If this happened to you, would you ever, even years later, tell that story?
I'd probably just hang myself.
I feel like you'd have to tell that story because it's such a terrible thing to bear on your own.
Cautionary tale.
You might tell a therapist,
Yeah, maybe a therapist.
and they'd be like, "I'm not qualified for this."
I'm gonna have to get somebody. You're gonna need one of those expensive therapists.
I thought it was funny that she's like, that she, I was pretty sure this was amateur. Like, these people are pros. This looks like shit.
All right, I guess I'll try.
Oh damn!
Yeah, that's a bad day. And she was only 15 at the time, so I mean that's pretty scarring.
Like she skipped school for this. It's like, well, I'm gonna skip school. I'm gonna go. My parents aren't home. I'm gonna go find their secret stash and jerk one out.
That is unfortunate. That would ruin sex for a few years at least. Like,
I bet she just sat in school every day after that, just like 500-yard stare. It's like, I'm never leaving school.
Yeah, I can't even like imagine. That would be like there would be nothing worse than that.
Yeah, if you ever like, if your parents die and have VHS, just burn them, man. Just burn them all. Even if you think it's like home videos of like your Christmas, like when you were like, your first Christmas or something, just throw it in the fire.
It starts out as your first Christmas, but then they taped over it.
who knows? Maybe they'll find like a lump on his balls, and that'll save your life in the future. Like, hey, you're predisposed to something. Or,
Hey, Dad, you might have cancer. Oh, ooh, rough.
He's like, that's just my genital ward, son. It's about suppression. Oh, man. Well, AJ, I'll send it back to you.
All right, let's see what we got here. Okay. All right. This one seemed weird enough to me. Saudi authorities have conducted their biggest ever crackdown on camel beauty contestants that received Botox injections and other artificial touch-ups, the state-run Saudi press agency reported Wednesday, with over 40 camels disqualified from the annual pageant. Saudi Arabia's popular...
Man, without the Botox, you wouldn't even want to fuck them.
I was just thinking, like, the fact that they have these contests makes me think they fuck the camels.
I know, right? All this screams is they fuck camels. Saudi Arabia's popular King Abdulaziz Camel Festival, that's what it's called, the Camel. Okay, which kicked off earlier this month, invites the breeders of the most beautiful camels to compete for some $66 million in prize money.
What?
But now I get it. Okay, Botox injections, facelifts, and other cosmetics alterations to make the camels more attractive are strictly prohibited. Jurors decide the winner based on the shape of the camels' heads, necks, humps, dress, and postures. Judges at the month-long festival in the desert northeast of the Saudi capital, Riyadh, are escalating their clampdown on artificially enhanced camels, the official news agency reported, using specialized and advanced technology to determine tampering. This year, authorities discovered dozens of breeders that had stretched out the lips and noses of camels, used hormones to boost the beast's muscles, injected camels' heads and lips with Botox to make them bigger, inflated body parts with rubber bands, and used fillers to relax their faces. I mean, they're banging these camels for sure, right?
I want to see the swimsuit competition.
The club is keen to halt all acts of tampering and deception in the beautification of camels, adding organizers would impose strict penalties on manipulators. The Camel Beauty Contest is at the heart of the massive carnival, which also features camel races, sales, and other festivities, typically showcasing thousands of dromedaries. The extravaganza seeks to preserve the camel's role in the kingdom's Bedouin tradition and heritage, even as the oil-rich country plows ahead with modernizing mega projects. Camel breeding is a multi-million-dollar industry, and similar events take place across the region. I mean, look, this is extreme stuff, but that price, that prize money of $66 million.
I mean, it must be like breeding like prize horses or something is like the same. But I've heard of even like I don't know if it was Japan or China where they breed like koi fish and there's like $1 million koi fish and shit like that, and you're just like, what the fuck? It's like, how is this a thing?
I don't understand where this comes from. Like, yeah, I don't know. I heard that, is it camels? Did they originate in North America and then they actually went over there? And
right, I believe that is the case. Yeah, there were definitely camels in North America.
Yeah, that's wild.
But we didn't have horses. It kind of switched, I guess.
You know, even those dog shows are kind of creepy.
True. I think we did have like three-toed horses in the Ice Age. Okay, I don't know.
Don't you think those dog shows are kind of creepy where like people dress up their dogs and they do those weird competitions where they trot them around?
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, that's kind of
like those people. I like. No, some of those are fucking those dogs.
Yeah,
well, it's also weird like how they judge them. They're like the breed has specific standards and they're like feel them and like it's just weird.
Yeah,
it's like the ball size on this is roughly the right size, I think.
Got to make sure he doesn't have those fake balls in it.
Nice robust balls. No Botox balls.
I don't know. I mean, now I kind of want to see what these camels are all about. Like, what's one of these really souped up looking camels look like?
You'd be like, oh,
I get it now.
Yeah. Look at the humps on that one. I would give it more than 2 humps.
It's hump day today.
Man, I used to fucking hate those dog shows because, like, in the 90s when I was just like the world's biggest wrestling fan, it was one of the few things they would actually like take wrestling off the air for is that Westminster Dog Show,
yeah.
which was so odd to me because wrestling at that time got monster ratings, huge ratings. So I'm like, either this Westminster Dog Show for some reason gets incredible ratings, or there's like the president of the USA Network just has like a huge boner for these dog shows.
Yeah, it could be.
Because like you think about it now, and I'm like, it seems like so weird that they would take wrestling off the air for it. Because like I said, like back in those days, like wrestling was getting monster ratings.
Yeah, I think some like maybe the biggest ratings out there.
Mm-hmm.
It was gigantic.
It was huge.
Yeah, I was surprised to see how much play that Westminster Dog Show got. Like I did not care for that at all, but I saw it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird.
I'm guessing it's like one of those things that's like very cheap to film and produce.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
But I can't imagine it having like a huge audience.
Yeah.
Like I know there's a lot of dog lovers, but even like, you know, the subset of dog lovers that are passionate enough to watch that dog show, I wouldn't think it'd be like, you know, numbers that could even come close to a wrestling show.
Yeah, those aren't even like the dogs that people are really like, you know, into. Like those are like weird, obscure breeds.
Yeah, a lot
like,
of different breeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd rather watch the Puppy Bowl. You know, like that makes more sense. Why people watch
I kind
that.
of forgot that was a thing. Yeah. Puppy bowl.
Do they still like do that? I actually I've never seen it, but didn't somebody do like a lingerie bowl or something?
Oh,
There
yeah.
was for a while. I don't know if they're still doing that.
I don't think I ever watched the Puppy Bowl, to be honest.
Puppy Bowl.
Of course, I don't watch the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, I don't
was
watch
a
the Super
huge-
Bowl. I am a little surprised I never watched like the Titty Bowl.
Yeah.
It was a huge marketing success. The Puppy Bowl, apparently. Like.
Oh yeah, I think it was.
They had like actual advertisers and stuff like that. Yeah.
And bookies.
Just throw a bunch of puppies. I think
50 G's on that Puppy
people
Bowl.
really did gamble
probably
on it.
was.
Yeah,
You always get those in Las Vegas. Like they'll bet on anything.
yeah.
I've been considering like trying like MMA. Like I haven't really watched it. Like I've been watching some old boxing matches and stuff, and like it's just some of them are crazy.
MMA is brutal, man. Like,
Yeah.
I have too much empathy to watch MMA.
I've seen a couple MMA matches, but I couldn't get into it.
I don't know. I wonder if I could.
Sometimes they're not even very exciting. Like when they get down, just like two guys go to the mat and start like mat wrestling and like
Yeah. Grapple and then it's like a submission.
yeah. Or sometimes like it's so fast, you know.
Yeah, a lot of them are fast. It seems like.
Apparently, like there was a boxing match not too long ago that people were really talking about, where like the two guys like knocked each other down like several times, and it was like a real back and forth type of thing.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, let's see how long this lasts. I think
Got
we're
another 30 years.
back over to Manifesto round 2.
Hawaii officials keep a man wanted on drug charges institutionalized and sedated for 2 years. However, they got the wrong guy.
Dang, they sedated the guy who was wanted on drug charges.
Right, so they picked up this homeless guy. He's not the guy that was actually wanted, and then they keep him sedated for like 2 years.
Seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah. So now they're facing a gigantic lawsuit.
So this guy had like mental illness or something.
He was homeless, and they were looking for somebody on drug charges, and they picked up him instead of like the guy that was like actually a warrant for. And so they got the wrong guy, and then just kept him like doped up.
I mean,
But legally, I mean, they couldn't do that even with the right guy, could they?
yeah, can they just dope you up? Like, can
Well,
they,
I think like once you've been arrested, I think there are like mental and like health routes they can take with people. Like,
How'd they finally figure out that it was the wrong guy?
well, apparently, like he had told them, but like I don't think it says how they actually eventually comes to light that it actually isn't the right guy.
Jeez.
they're like, they heard him like the millionth time. They're like, oh yeah, maybe let's check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, 2 years.
Hey, he's gonna get paid. I hope
Yeah, you should. That's ridiculous.
he's gonna have a home.
But I mean, some of those like, you know, guys that spend like, decades in prison and then like DNA evidence exonerates them. A lot of those guys I don't think get like huge paydays. Some of them maybe, but
Yeah, that's true.
Man, there was one where this was a recent one. Like, there's a best-selling author. She accuses this guy of rape, and he's been in jail for like 16 years, and he just got exonerated. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Bitch, what?" I'm truly sorry. Fuck.
I heard one about
16
this.
years.
This lady. Her name was like, let's just say like Sharon Lee Brown, and another lady by the name exactly the same, Sharon Lee Brown, rented a car, robbed a bank, robbed a fur store. Did all this stuff. She had the same name. She worked at the same kind of fur store down, like, in the same city, like, in a little different part of the area. And she, like, all the signs pointed to her, and she was arrested for, like, several years until two other people confessed that they were cellmates with the other lady, and she had confessed to having committed those crimes.
Jeez.
And they still didn't believe it. Like, because she was covering up for her partner, so she would never admit that was a different woman. So, she would say, "Oh no, it wasn't her, but it wasn't. I won't tell you who it actually was." So they still kept that woman in prison for all that time until eventually she either she confessed or they found out who the woman was. But it took a long time for her to get out.
Yeah, man. I there was a good interview once with Joe Rogan had like two guys from the Innocence Project on who like, basically fight on behalf of like people they know are in prison like wrongly, and man, you hear some of the stories they tell and you're like, fuck, like all these people whose lives are just like totally fucked up because of this shit, and like the prosecutors who know they got the wrong guy, but don't want to fuck up their record, so they just let it happen, and it's just like, holy shit, you hear these stories and you're like, man, it's a fucked up system.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. There's their relationship with the police. They don't want to jeopardize that. Sometimes they don't go after the cop for doing something wrong, or they want the number, so they know the cop is like planting evidence, but the more cases they prosecute, the better it is for them. There's so many ways that it can go wrong, and it does a lot of the time.
Yeah, too many incentives to do the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, it is scary to think of that. That could happen to any of us. A weird situation like that.
Yeah, coincidence.
You got the wrong name in the wrong place, and you're fucked.
Exactly. Man, like, she was so confident. So here's the thing, like, the police said, like, hey, if you know anything about this crime, or if you know anything about this this name of this person who came and did this, come step forward, and we want to question you. She came forward. She purposely thought, like, there's no way I'm gonna get in trouble. But years later, she gets out. Oh, and the worst thing is, I think she did like 16 years, and her son killed himself while she was in prison and his last words were, "Mommy, where are you? Our family is not our family anymore." So heartbreaking.
Jeez. Yeah.
But when she got out, she dedicated her life to, like, helping other people in that situation, and she made a difference and stuff. So, I mean, there's at least some silver lining to it.
I would be so pissed. I would never get over like being that pissed off.
Yeah. Well, she passed away in like 2016, I think. But yeah, whew. That happens. I mean, probably more often than we care to know.
Well, I've got another story. It's kind of in a similar vein. South Carolina man's beaten by an officer when he couldn't lie down fast enough. So this guy's like almost 60 years old. He's got like pins and shit in his hip and a cane because he was like in an accident. And the cop tells him to lay down, so he's like, it's painful. He's like not laying down fast enough, and the cop just like kicks the shit out of him. And
how are these cops with like such bad judgment? Like, you can plainly see if a guy's like struggling to get down.
I mean, you would think so, but you also get like there was a guy where like the cop pulled a gun on him and he's like, he was clearly drunk, right, or whatever, and he's like, "Get up, come towards me, get down, crawl," and he's like giving him all these like contradictory commands, and like he gets up or whatever down, and like his pants fall down, so he reaches to pull up his pants, and then like dude just shoots him.
I saw that one. I think that was like in Arizona.
Yeah, I think that's.
I saw the video on that one. Yeah, and it was like straight up murder.
Like it was ridiculous. Yeah, ridiculous.
And I'm pretty sure the cop. I think he was like fired from being a cop, but he didn't go to jail.
That's frequently what happens. There's also that one recently where like the woman, instead of pulling her taser, she pulled her gun, which is like a horrible mistake when shot somebody. It's like, oh. But you have to be pretty, like your training has to be pretty bad to fuck that up.
Yeah, that's what they say often. Like it comes down to their training. Like they're taught to be more like offensive minded.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that's happening, at least here, like the police themselves are very, they've become very just kind of demoralized by the government and how they're handling things. Because like a ton of people have quit, so which means you have like younger, less experienced people. And then also there's like, because I'm in security, but like apparently the company I work for, like they said they went from like a small like 30, 40 people to like 150, 160 people in 3 months to try to fill this gap that the law enforcement's leaving behind, because people still want security. They feel like they're not getting it from the government.
Private security companies.
In 3 months, they went that big of a jump, and they said the only reason they didn't go bigger is because they couldn't hire enough people.
So there's a popular like YouTube channel called I think it's a Detroit Threat Management specialist or something like that. I don't know. But these guys are kind of like, they're teased and made fun of for like being these like fake cops in Detroit. That
well, I mean, that's what security is. I mean, there's definitely a stigma there, and a lot of times because they don't have, like, we don't have authority any more than like a regular citizen. We don't have police authority other than like, you know, citizens arrest. We still have those, but really, yeah, we don't deal with things like that.
But these guys make a revenue of $2 million a year, and
for doing this stuff.
Yeah, they got a lot of customers, and yeah, they just go in there and like just keep the riffraff out, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, there's stuff like regular security like I do, but there's also more like elite stuff, which like when things get shitty, like rich neighborhoods will hire basically like tactical fighters.
Yeah, that's what these are. These are kind of like, though I don't know how good they are at fighting, to be honest.
Right.
But they're dressed like their tactical team.
Right, and like yeah, you see some of those teams like actual, usually military training, frequently weapons, and yeah.
You know what I'd like to see, just as an experiment to see how it would go, is like take a city that has like really bad policing stats like this, like, you know, a lot of wrongful shootings and things like that, and just say for 1 year, no live rounds. All you can use is less lethal ammunition, like you know, rubber bullets, sandbags, taser, shit like that, and just see like if it what the results are, basically. Like, does it end up with more dead cops? Does it end up with, you know, less killed civilians? And just like see how that works out. Because I would think it would have to be better.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, in like the first line argument for like gun laws is usually reduction of crime, but generally, you know, in places like Detroit or Chicago where you see it implemented heavily, you see a lot more, which is, it's counterintuitive, but you do tend to see more gun crime. Actually, in Portland, ours is like it. Well, we broke a record this year that's been like the most murders in a year, and it's been like over like 40 years. It's like since like the 70s or something since this happened. But I've heard we had like an 800% increase or something, like insane jump in the number of shootings this year.
I heard it's actually a myth that Chicago has the most gun deaths. I heard it was like St. Louis or something.
I'm not sure it's the most, but they have a lot. Like I heard that more children were shot in Chicago this year than died from COVID in the United States, which is not great.
I heard also it doesn't help that like apparently like Indiana, which is like right next door to him, has like really like loose gun laws, and so it's really easy for people to get them and take them over the border. Let's see, was that it on that one?
Yeah.
Well, AJ, you had a topic about camels. I got one about camel toe. Fake camel toe panties are now a thing.
Oh.
After we've spent years trying to avoid camel toe while getting dressed, fashion has taken a turn we seriously weren't expecting. That's right. Rather than an embarrassing byproduct of high-waisted pants or leggings, camel toe is now in style with specifically designed underwear on sale to give you the look. Camel toe panties are available on both Amazon and eBay, and as you've probably guessed, they're basically underwear that simulates the appearance of a painful front wedgie. The briefs are padded with silicone to give fans the desired plump look. Pop on a pair and like magic, camel toe will appear. We should get some of these. The product description on Amazon reads, "Get freaky with these new sexy camel toe panties. These sexy underwear will let you bring a camel toe wherever you go. You can be sure that you will leave an impression on the people you meet." And according to Maxim, they're the latest thing in Japan. Where apparently the current fad is for women to emphasize their vulvas. In fact, this is the second time they've been popular over there, with the trend first making an appearance a decade ago. What can we say? The 2000s were an unusual time in fashion history. However, as many social media users have pointed out, why pay for camel toe when it happens all the time for free, whether we like it or not?
But you want the juicy looking one. You want the extra meat in your...
Nevertheless, it turns out this unusual trend may have a good use after all, as trans women can use them to help disguise their bugle. Actually, this is genius. While the Metro thinks it may be a fetish that has crossed over into the mainstream and has been misunderstood by the internet.
Trans are going to trick me someday.
Look at these things, though.
Can't you pretty much get your jeans to make your balls look like a camel toe?
The old moose knuckle.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it's hot when you see a woman like with a huge camel toe? Or
I don't know if I've... I don't know. I think maybe I'm not much of a crotch gazer. Like I have a certain like... That's like, you might catch a glance and be like, don't look.
You're just like, oh, mom, that camel toe. Can't stop looking. It's mesmerizing. Man, there is this funny picture I saw on Twitter once. It was taken on an episode of The Family Feud. But this guy is wearing pants that are so tight, it is splitting his ball bag in half.
That's what I was saying.
And you can fucking see it. I'm just like, dude, why? Why would you wear pants like this?
It feels nice and secure.
I'm always shocked by guys who like cross their legs when they sit. I'm like, why would you put your balls through that? You know, like. You're gonna pop those suckers doing that.
I don't think I have that issue, but it's like some people do have like the long balls. I guess, like smashing them or sitting on them.
I imagine when you get older, though, man, they're gonna droop.
Yeah, the old gravitas.
Sit on them.
Yeah, that's something I think you do like one time and you'd be like pretty careful.
Hey, side question. What's the worst thing you guys have ever sat on?
Gosh, I don't know.
Man, I'll give you my example.
I think I did one where there was like a wrench or something under a cushion.
No, that's the one I did.
Okay.
Or maybe you did it. It was this mortar. No. But no, exactly what you were saying happened. Like, I went to sit down in a chair, and there was like a blanket on the chair, like there always was. And I don't know who did this, if it was on purpose or if it was just a happy accident for them, but I sat full force on this fucking wrench. And I think it bruised my tailbone because I was hurting for like weeks after that, and like it was hard to sit down.
Yeah, I got dropped on my ass once in that. I think that was probably bruised because, like, yeah, it was really tender for a while.
I still kind of think somebody put that wrench there on purpose. It was a trap.
Goddamn Zach.
Just like bicycle seats, like just bad ones, you know. But I saw this video on TikTok where this guy's like, how to rehabilitate a thief. And like it shows this guy going up to his bike. And it was like a trap bike. They put it out there on purpose.
I've seen some of these.
And like he sits on the bike and it goes down and he's like, he gets right off the bike and runs off because it like comes down, the bar comes
the
up.
seat drops and like the bar goes right up your ass.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I saw one like a guy was on like you know those like shop rotating stools. Like he sat on one of those and he's kind of spinning around, and like the top broke, and it went down, and just like he saw him like kind of like gingerly like pull himself like straight up off of it and like walk away with his hand over his ass. I was like, oh, that's a bad one.
Just a streak on that.
Yeah, probably like a bloody.
Yeah.
These two stories you've told me, though, remind me of a clip I saw on Tom Segura. This guy is being videotaped. Homeless guy, I think. Definitely on drugs. He's got a bicycle seat with the seat off that he's got jammed up his ass, and he's jerking off. And this lady's like, "What's the matter with you?" And he's just like, "Leave me alone, lady."
Can't you tell this is a private moment?
I just want to be left alone in public.
Can't jerk off in the street anymore with a bicycle seat up your ass. What's the world coming to?
He just wanted to be left alone.
Jeez.
Oh, God.
Oh, man, this is totally unrelated, but like, I'm one of those people that hardly ever like remembers my dreams. But like, this was 2 nights ago. Like, this one got so weird that I actually remember it. And this will probably bore everyone. Hates these like dream stories, but like, so I'm back in high school, right? And you know how on Breaking Bad, he makes the like ricin poison, and he poisons that one lady by like
put it in her Splenda.
Yeah. So like in my dream, like I do that. Like I somehow know how to make ricin. I make it, and I poison like 8 people that I hate, like 8 fellow students that I hate, and they die. But then because I can't just have a pleasant dream where I just kill a bunch of assholes, I have to have like an anxiety-inducing dream. I'm then grilled by the police, like under the heavy light and everything, and like I'm doing that thing where I keep trying to like make sure I refer to people in like present tense. Because otherwise,
I don't want to let them know that they're all dead.
Exactly.
He is drinking the poison I gave him.
So yeah, it was bizarre.
Too much of that CIS.
CSI. We're getting close to an hour, but AJ, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, I do. Let's see here. A couple to choose from. Fires in the cold. Okay, this one was interesting to me. So, for the first time in centuries, the world's population is set to decline in a few decades. There are currently around 7.8 billion of us in the world right now, and the number is expected to peak in 2064. When I'll be 69 years old. Yikes. Based on a new study published in The Lancet, the peak will be roughly 9.7 billion and then will drop to 8.8 billion by 2100, where I'll either be reincarnated into a sheep or floating around in heaven. I don't know who wrote this. Anyway, Stein Emil Volzit is a lead study author and professor of global health at the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, and he went into more detail of the groundbreaking study. The last time the global population declined was back in the mid-14th century due to the Black Plague. In our forecast, if our forecast is correct, it'll be the first time population decline is driven by fertility decline, as opposed to events such as a pandemic or famine. More significantly, the population of up to 23 countries could shrink by more than 50%. Those include Japan, Thailand, Italy, Spain, Portugal, South Korea, even China.
That sounds like a big number.
A place associated with having a large population density could fall from 1.4 billion in 2017 to 732 million in 2100. There are two key factors: improvement in access to modern contraception and education of girls and women. These factors drove the fertility rate, the average number of children a woman delivers over her lifetime, which is the largest determinant of population. The global fertility rate is predicted to steadily decline from 2.37 in 2017 to 1.66 in 2100, well below the minimum rate of 2.1 live births per woman, considered necessary to maintain population numbers. The 21st century will see a revolution in the story of human civilization. Africa and the Arab world will shape our future, while Europe and Asia will recede in their influence. By the end of the century, the world will be multipolar, with India, Nigeria, China, and the U.S. the dominant powers. This will truly be a new world one should be preparing for today. The positive impacts of migration on health and economies are known globally. The choice that we face is whether to improve health and wealth by allowing planned population movement, or if we end up with an underclass of imported labor and unstable societies. I think that last thing is going to happen. I think that's already happening. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. They think that the global population will go down at some point after going up.
What's the global population right now? It's like
7.4 billion or something. 7 billion something.
Yeah, it seems like when I was like in middle school, like they were talking about like I think the population was just a little over like 6 billion, I want to say. And they were all like talking about like how long they thought it would take to get to 7 billion, and now we're like past that. It seems
so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when I was a kid, I checked the population of Africa online. So this is in the time of the internet. And it was like 700 something million. And I think now it's like almost double that. So, I mean, just in our lifetimes, we've seen the population in Africa, increase so much. I imagine the same probably happened in Asia pretty recently in the last few decades, just because of modern medicine and stuff like that. And probably everywhere, the last century.
Yeah, it's a little concerning.
Yeah, I mean, what they talked about the population dropping by as much as half in some places. That I mean, I guess because they're having kids based on a different cultural mindset.
I don't know. There's a lot of different
factors. Yeah.
I mean, I don't doubt that more contraception and education help those things, but I don't know. I feel at some point there's going to be natural disasters that wipe out heavy population centers.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that the way the global warming is going, we're not prepared for what's about to come.
I mean, they already see in some places where that are along certain coastlines, the water, they're having problems with flooding and shit because of the global, around I think Miami even.
Miami's very close to sea level.
Yeah, so any places close to sea level right now, I think are already kind of experiencing some flooding and shit.
I think in Venice, Italy, normally the water was up to the shops, but not into them. Now you have 2 feet of water into the shops and stuff. So, I mean, that's becoming unlivable, I imagine.
Eventually, every place is going to be like Venice. You can have boats taking you everywhere.
Well, I mean, luckily Portland's elevated, so we should be okay in some.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to be very elevated. But I mean, if stuff rose like a foot, that'd affect a lot of coastal cities, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got anything zippy to go out on?
Not really.
Okay, let's end it there. Well, everybody who's followed along, either audio-wise or on YouTube, we very much appreciate it. If you will, please subscribe both to the YouTube channel and to the podcast on your podcast service of choice. Give us thumbs up. Give us comments or questions. That would be great for the show. Give us 5-star reviews. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, don't send us pictures of you sticking unexploded ordnance up your anus.
Or
Unless
do.
you want
or
to.
do.
Or do, yeah.
Well, yeah, whatever.
We just want the follows.
Yeah. Let us use your photos.
And I don't know if you can post those on YouTube, but Twitter lets you get away with a lot. So why not follow us on Twitter and send us those pics there?
DM us.
Yeah, guys, where can people find you on Twitter and send you those pictures?
I am at a name for this too, and that's number 2.
At unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.